There we go. We are recording once again. Welcome everybody once again to the YouTube channel Reiki Zen. And today we have my Reiki master Ken Hill, who has agreed to don his presence with us, and it's very kind of you to do so. So say hello, Ken.
Hello, Ken. Nice to see you too, Ian.
Yes, I know. Well, we'll save the showmanship bits for later. So yes, so thank you very much again. I mean, I know we've had a little chat before we came on, but thank you again for sparing a little bit of time to do this. But yeah, it's basically as I've described before in previous chats. Basically, it's just about like connecting people together and getting people to know more about the different approaches and different way people have organically and spiritually grown over their period of time with dealing with Reiki and whatever other tools that they might use on their path. But if you want to tell us a little bit about you, about your business, about Reiki Ken, and where we can find you, things like that, just to do a little bit of advertising for yourself.
Yeah, reikiken.com, simple address, easy to find. I chose .com specifically when I got started because I didn't want to be just .co.uk, because I did have, even then back in 2009, the thought that I could be doing distant work elsewhere, and I didn't want to kind of confine myself to just the UK, which is probably just as well, because over the years I've had clients from, oh heavens, San Francisco, Toronto. I had the latest one was in Northern Territory in Australia a few weeks ago. So if it's .com, it could be anywhere. So it's when they get into the website that they see where I am. But the website's changed thanks to COVID, really, because when COVID started, I mean, then I was into my 11th year, and I'd been doing contact Reiki pretty well most of the time. Along came COVID, and things just turned upside down. And the website did its job, and it started bringing people in, inquiring about doing distant, like I say, from all different parts of the world. So that's where Reiki Ken is now. It's distant only.
Yeah.
I say distant only. I do contact for friends, and also as well, I've started teaching again since we've been coming out of the restrictions. And I would like anybody who's coming to me who hasn't, or I'm not already familiar with, I'm asking them if they'll have some contact Reiki from me, 2 or 3 sessions maybe beforehand, so we can get to know each other. But that's the only exception. The vast majority of my work now is distant and time distant, which makes things incredibly easier for me now, and I think for the clients as well.
Yeah.
They can
explain a little bit time distance about your understanding of it and what it is.
Well, contact Reiki, you've got the person actually coming to you, and is actually in your treatment room on the treatment table, and your hands are working on or above their body. Distant is distant. They don't have to come. They can be in their home. They can be wherever in the world that is. Time distant is like the ultimate distant. You can tell the client, when do you want to receive it? And like that client in Northern Territory in Australia, he wanted to receive it, I think it was 8 o'clock at night on I think it was Monday night. So as long as I did it at least a day beforehand, I could then, as I'm doing it here, I time it. I ask my guides to make sure that this person gets the Reiki at 8 o'clock his time in Northern Territory on Monday evening. And I don't know how that works. I don't know how it happens. It just happens. I can explain about how contact Reiki works, but how time distant does actually work, I don't know the full details of it yet, but I just know it's brilliant. And it actually works, and it's the satisfaction of both of us, because the client can get it whenever they want, and it's not restricted to like UK office hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it. I mean, for someone to receive it, if they wanted you to do that live, then you need to know their time zone, how many hours ahead or behind they may be to you. But the fact that we've got this capability of being able to use this Reiki and connect with them on a time distant basis, it opens the world to those possibilities of energy healing for those people that contact us. I know myself that I'm pretty much only distant Reiki as well myself, and it does it makes things a lot easier I mean, obviously, like you know yourself, with having to do contact Reiki, you have to get your room ready. You can maybe see 3 clients a day, 4 maximum, I suppose, because then you have to take into account the time before, the time during the Reiki, the time after, for them to sort of like unwind and come out of their very relaxing session, have a little bit of a chat to them, then prepare the room for the next person. Whereas with distance and time distance, you could do so many sessions straight off the bat for later in the week or whatever, and you've freed up your time.
That's it. I mean, that's how it's managed to free up my daytimes for me, because it's I mean, I just just turned 70 and still working. No chance whatsoever of retiring. But I feel I need to really look after myself. So in the morning, my morning is me time, and I can do about an hour's exercise when I can. I do about 45 minutes to an hour's Reiki self-treatment. I do meditation. I don't have to get up at the crack of dawn. And then I start my sessions at about 12 o'clock, something like that. And I can do 3, one after the other, like that. And that's it. That's the day's work done. And then I just get on with the emails after that and let people know, send people the feedback and stuff like that. It's great.
And so you don't use any sort of social media either, really, do you? You only use the website.
That's it. Yeah, I've tried Facebook. I mean, we've talked about this before, and I've never really been keen on Facebook. It's not. Perhaps it's just me. Perhaps it's just I don't know. But I've just not found Facebook to be the place where I'll get my clients from. Also, yeah. I think that's the point. It is just the website. I mean, the website has really evolved over the years. And it's I mean, I really kind of took off like that when I'm just trying to think when I had this done. It was about 6 years ago, I think. I had to work with Richard, the website designer, and I reckon I needed a special version of the website for smartphone use, because that's where the vast majority of people are accessing the internet. It's on the smartphone in their hand. Whereas if my website, which looks great on a PC, but it looks pretty enough on the smartphone, it needed to be sorted out. And in doing that, that meant it was changed into WordPress. So that meant that I had to do all the updating, which is great, which is fun. I'd never used WordPress before, but I've got a big background in IT, so I was able to kind of work things out for myself. And now updating the website is a doddle. I don't have to contact Richard and ask about this and that. Occasionally there's things that I need to get him to do. But other than that, I can just do it myself. And the website has therefore evolved quite rapidly over the years.
It's definitely opened the floodgates, and I think it's made people have to think outside the box a little bit more with regards to the likes of COVID and contact, and how it's helped a lot of people find this resource of Reiki and energy healing, that they don't have to go and actually be with that person. They can receive it in the comfort of their own home, which is absolutely amazing, for not just for practitioners, but for people that are wanting to receive it as well. So where did your journey of Reiki, I mean, obviously I know, but people that are watching this don't really know, but where did your journey of Reiki begin? Because I also know that you use spiritual healing as well. So it's like a fusion of the two. But tell us about, well, I think the spiritual healing came first. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never ever thought that I would be a healer. In fact, the word healer, I had never really liked the word healer, because healing to me suggested something finite. You're going to cure somebody. I'm going to heal you. And I've always been a bit iffy about doing it, but these days I do use it, because I know the word better, and I understand it better. But I had no intention of doing anything like this. Nothing in my conscious mind, but I'm a firm believer that your life is planned out for you. When I look back now, I had interests in things like, which might sound a bit flippant, but ghost stories. I used to love reading ghost stories, and I've had 1 or 2 ghost stories published. So there's like an interest in things sort of spiritual there, and I'd read other books as well. I used to read, what was her name? Doris Stokes, the healer from the 1960s, I think. And then I got to read Betty Shine, and I was really impressed by her stuff. And by the time I got to that, in my own life, I had become aware of spiritual healing and of mediumship and stuff like that. Because I used to go to used to live on Tyneside for some years, and I used to go to the Wall's End Spiritualist Church with my friend Rosa, my neighbour from downstairs, and the number of mediums there who said, "You've got the abilities, the gifts of healing. You should be using them." And I just thought, me? No, no way, no way. But there it was. It was there, and it just gradually kind of came up. And as time went by, we moved into the 1990s, and a friend of mine at the time, Michael, who's a spiritual healer on the SNU, the Spiritualist National Union circuit of Tyneside, of Tyne Weir. He, as I say, he was a friend, and he taught me how to do spiritual healing, and I got to know more about my spirit guide, 1 or 2 previous lives and stuff like that. And it went on from there, and that would be early 90s, I think 1993, 94, something like that.
Yeah.
Then it was 1998 that another friend of mine said, "Oh, I'm going to be doing this course on a weekend." He said, it's called Reiki. He said, "I think it's right up your street." And I had never heard of Reiki. So we looked it up on this new fledgling thing called the internet. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I went along, and I mean, talk about life changing. It was just amazing. I mean, the attunements over that weekend were just mind blowing, really. But even then, I got to know that there was a level 2 and there was a level 3, and I just thought, no, that's not for me. I'm just going to stick at level 1. And so I did for some years, and then along came, what was it, 2005, and I just thought, I've got to do level 2. And so I did, with a different Reiki master. I'd moved to Darlington by this time. She did my level 2, and then within about 9 months, I'd done my level 3. And then the next year, that was 2006. And then in 2007, I hadn't really been using Reiki very much in my life. I thought once a month is probably enough, foolishly thinking. And I got a diagnosis of osteoarthritis in both my knees, and I'd been walking with a stick, and stairs were dreadful. And I mean, oh God, I was only what, 55 at the time, and the doctor said, "Yeah, it's osteoarthritis. It won't get better. It will get worse. You'll be walking with 2 sticks before long, and then when you're old, you'll probably do knee replacement surgery." And I was just absolutely bloody furious with life. Came home, dragged the chair in the middle of the living room floor, that sat down and worked on myself with Reiki for about an hour or so. Did it the next day as well, and within 48 hours, the pain had gone from the knees. I always say the pain had gone because I don't know if the osteoarthritis itself was gone, but the pain had gone. I could suddenly kneel down and get up unaided. I didn't need the stick and stuff like that. And I thought, bloody hell, this is Reiki. I can't keep this to myself.
Yeah.
That's 2 years later, various things came into play in my life, 2009. And I thought, right, now I'm going to go for me, set up my own practice. And the fact that the recession had started the year before was a bit daunting, but everything else had come into play. And I thought, if I don't do it now, it'll be my last chance. So, and started off on the road, no regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
And it's just grown and grown and grown. And here we are today.
Absolutely fantastic. I love hearing the story every time when you tell people about the issues that you used to have with the knees, and even the other health issues that you'd had over the years, like with depression and the panic attacks, and how you've kind of attracted clients that you'd never dealt with before, but as soon as you started having panic attacks, you attracted the clients that were having panic attacks. And there was this kind of correlation between your learning within Reiki, and then the people that were coming towards you were almost like there as opposed to teach you, or to allow you to work the energy within those people to help their means as well, which is absolutely fascinating. And I mean, that speaks a little bit about your guides and your connection with your guides, and how you always look at them as being your kind of gatekeepers for your business, for your clients, and for them to come in. So this is why I said before when we had a little chat, I did find it quite hard thinking of questions to ask you, because I already know all this already, but obviously the people, yeah.
I was going to say, you know too much.
But then the people that are watching haven't got a clue. So we've just got to like put that by the wayside, really. But yeah, so how do you incorporate the spiritual healing within the Reiki? Is there any aspects through, obviously, when you were doing contact Reiki before, when you're doing distant Reiki now, is it just the connection to your guides that is part of the spiritual Reiki healing?
The two are indivisible. The two are together in the same pot.
Mm.
I sit down here with the surrogate that I use, Max the teddy bear. I sit down here. My guides know who I'm about to work on. I mean, I'm pointing here to where my client record sheets would be. They know who this person is. They know what's wrong with them. And as soon as I start and I put my hands on the surrogate's head, connections. In fact, the connection, I was going to say the connection is there. Connection has probably been there before then. Probably as soon as I start thinking about them when I wake up that morning, thinking, right, who have we got today? And the connection is there. And I have what's called clairaudience, which means that I can hear the voices of people in spirit. And it's like very low volume at the moment, but it's gradually getting clearer. I had a little bit of a conversation the other day with my dad in spirit, because I know who my helpers are. You've got the spirit guide who's he's been with me before the start of this life. He's been with me all throughout this life. And then when I eventually pass into spirit, he'll be there. And I know for a fact that he's been looking after me for several previous lives. So he's there all the time. And then there are people called helpers who come in, like both my parents. And my dad died in 1990. My mum died in 2004. And George, my partner, he died in 97. And one of his sisters, Rita, she died about 10 years ago. They're all part of what I call a team RK, and they're all together. They don't all actually do the healing, as far as I know. I don't think George and Rita do, but they're still there.
Still present.
It's a team. It sounds crazy. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
I'd say they're acting as gatekeepers as well. I'm working at the moment at sort of just 50% capacity. Any other sort of Reiki practitioner would be kind of worrying and thinking, oh, how am I going to get more clients? I just know that this is the work level I should be at the moment. And once things start to ease off a bit, then it'll work. They're looking after me, basically. They're looking after me, and they're working through me as well.
Yeah. Because I know you have well, the last video I did a video with Claire Thackeray, and we were talking about past lives. And obviously we've discussed in the past about past lives, and obviously because we've had our Akashic readings done by the same lady. I know that you were aware of one of your guides being a Native American who you were connected to in a previous life, and how he's now one of your guides in spirit, and he's known as, he's called White Cloud. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how you kind of made that connection with him and how you found out about him as well?
Yeah, I had a kind of an awareness of spirit guides for many years, but didn't know very much about them. And it would be, let me think, it was 1988 when I started coming out as a gay man. And my first boyfriend, this is when I lived on Tyneside, first boyfriend, he knew a medium in heaven called George McAllister, and he said, why don't we go over there for tea? So we went over there. George McAllister was the most amazing person I'd come across. He told me all about spirit guides, about helpers, and he told me who my spirit guide was. And he said he was an American Indian when he last walked the earth. He was the son of the chief. His name's White Cloud, and you were his best buddy, and you were the medicine man of the tribe. My name was Running River. I was married. I had 4 kids. I think I had 1 daughter and 3 sons. And in 1815, White Cloud, myself, and one of my sons, White Feather, were killed in this battle. And I've since been able to check up on that. And that does ring true. I have found evidence of a battle in the area where I was. I was a Lakota Sioux Indian. So I was in that part of the world. And there was a battle in 1815. So he passed into spirit. I passed into spirit. My son, White Feather, passed into spirit. And then a few years later, I came back as someone totally different. I was a woman. I was a nurse. I think I was probably born around about 1820 or so. So just a few years in spirit between the last life and this one. And I became a nurse, and I worked at Scutari Hospital with Florence Nightingale. This is something I've learned since, long since George Pallister. And Florence Nightingale is one of the helpers that I have in spirit. Apparently, she and I were very, very close friends. I mean, when I was first told this bit about Flo, I thought, well, I'm not going to tell everybody about this. Told a couple of close friends, and that was it. But no way was I going to tell any clients. So about 6 months later, there was a client here, and she was very psychic. I said that's something else that's happened to me over the years. I seem to draw a lot of clients who are psychic, and this last was no exception. She was sat on the treatment table after I think it was the third session, and she said to me, "You'll never guess who's been in here today working on me." I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "Florence Nightingale." Wow, then, proof if proof were needed. And I found out a bit more about her, and she likes me to call her Flo. She's still around. She still works I think she's going to be here for the rest of my time here as well. So yeah, the helpers. That was one life. Then I don't know when I passed into spirit, and I don't know when I was born, but I know the next life again was totally different. I was born in Germany. I was a Jew. An Orthodox Jew, I think. And I was a rabbi, married again, and I had slightly larger family. I think 3 sons, 2 daughters, or maybe it was the other way around. And all of us were killed in Auschwitz. This is something I discovered. So that would be around about 1944, I would think, something like that, 43, 44. And again, I wasn't in spirit for very long. I was born here in 1952. And I've also discovered as well that this is my last life on this earth, and I've been told that I'm going to be around till well over 100, working as well.
That's something for you to look forward to.
So yeah, I've got to know an awful lot about my background, and I know therefore that I know of the service that I'm giving my clients. And it took me until only about 2 or 3 years ago for me to put something on the website about the spiritual healing. But I didn't put much detail. I just said I'm also a spiritual healer.
Yeah.
1 or 2 clients have asked me lately about the spiritual side. So I've produced a leaflet. So I give them which gives them a kind of a snapshot of everything that I've just described to you.
Yeah. So it is a fascinating journey, and especially the way. Because I know a lot of your lives that you've been in the past and obviously now, they've all had sort of a healing connection. So for you to come into this life to come across spiritual healing, and then Reiki, and class yourself as like an energy healer and a Reiki master and all this stuff, it all seems to like fit like a pattern of all these different. So it would be interesting to know what capacity you were as a rabbi as well. I mean, if he had some sort of healing thing going on in his life as well, that would be interesting to know and to find out. Yeah, but I know the when you were talking earlier on about your knees and about the osteoarthritis, one of the previous coffee chats that I did it with Anna Marie, who does Reiki, and she's down in Leicestershire. And before she discovered Reiki, she was actually a lot of her childhood traumas and emotions were building up inside her, and they were eventually being exposed as seizures, and she was having 50 seizures a day. And then she discovered Reiki, and she discovered a lady on a YouTube channel, someone that I follow, and she's called Mainstream Reiki, and she's in America, and she does distance Reiki over the videos. And she said as soon as she started watching them videos that first night, she didn't have any seizures whatsoever. And then she was like, I need to look further into this. And I'd said pretty much exactly the same as what you said about your Reiki with your knees and the effect that it had, and I'd said, you need to get this story out there, make it known from where you've gone to suffering from all these seizures and all this trauma that's built up over life, to be where you are now, where you're seizure free and you're working on all these different therapies. It's absolutely fantastic. It's amazing, really, that we have this power, and just be able to help people in whatever way we can. So what
I was going to say, I tend to tell people that when they're starting on the Reiki journey, it's absolutely amazing. It's not confined simply to healing. There's all sorts of things. You'll find yourself doing things that you would never have thought possible, and like distant Reiki, time distant, and stuff like that. It's they reckon that we use very little of our brains, very little. And when you learn more and more stuff like this, and you realize just what stuff can actually be commonplace.
Yeah.
It just shows how far the human race has still got to go.
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we're just starting to touch the tip of the iceberg with regards to energy and energy healing, and how it can have a profound effect on your health overall. But like you say, it's something that has to be, you have to go in there wholeheartedly with it, and and do your healing every day, and do your practices every day, to keep yourself strong and focused on the intention that you need. And I know you obviously do that, and we all do it, to try and keep that level of clarity, I suppose, to keep us focused, to keep us healing. So what do you think was anything initially that started your journey into spiritual healing and Reiki? Was there anything that got you into that, or was it just something you kind of fell upon and then it sort of just happened?
It was just it was just one of those things that people would say, oh, it was just by chance I was having a conversation with somebody. But then when you have this awareness of the journey of life that you're on, and that your life is actually planned out, what you think is just chance. It's not.
Yeah.
You're just meant to be in that place at that time.
Yeah. I know that you are a very, very spiritual person. I know, obviously from whenever we talk and discuss things, there's always a reason behind it, or why things are happening. A bit like a lot of the problems that you had with the left side of your body, which in the end you've put down to your own energy and your chakra upgrade. If you want to shed a little bit of light on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had problems with my body that just seem to be on the left hand side. That's over the last, how many years? I don't know, maybe 10 years, something like that. I think one of the problems was there was some pain I was getting in my left foot between the little toe on the outside and the next toe. So I went on to see my GP, and this was long before COVID. So he did actually see the GP, and he actually saw my foot. And he said, oh, yes, he said, I know what that is. He said, it's called Morton's Neuroma. And he said, I'd like you to have a scan at the hospital just for confirmation. So I made the appointment, and I went up there, and they put this gel on my feet, and then put this little hand scanner over it. Couldn't find any trace of anything like that at all. So I went back to him, and he had a bit of a think, and he said, right, I'll put you through for an MRI scan this time. So this time I had to go off to mobile MRI scanner in Blackwell, I think it was. And they did the X-ray there, and they couldn't find anything wrong with it. So that's one thing that he just kind of shrugged their shoulders. They don't know what it was. And then I've had a discharge problem in my left nostril. Sounds very inconsequential, but it's bloody annoying, really. So again, they sent me to the hospital. The consultant did tests for allergies, no allergies. He did tests for whatever, and in the end, he didn't know what it was. He hadn't a clue. Discussing with the GP, he said, well, look, I'll give you, he just called it the bog standard nasal spray. He said, I'll give you that. You take that 3 times a day, and blow me down, it actually worked. So that, so that's another problem, left side, they didn't know. About 1 or 2 other problems there like that. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, Jenny, who used to do reflexology on me, and she's retired now. She lives in Northallerton, and she's very much into yoga. In fact, she's a qualified yoga teacher, and she said that in yogic teaching, she said let me get this right now, the left hand side of the body is considered to be female, The right-hand side of the body is considered to be male, but the brain's the other way around. The right-hand side of the brain is female, and the left-hand side of the brain is that. Also, she said, the right side of your body is to do with giving, and the left side of your body is to do with receiving. And she said, what you've got there, she said, you're just a giving, and she's known me for years. She said, you're just a giving person, but she said, you're not getting back anywhere near enough. And that's how it's been over the years. So still have these problems there on the left side. I know what it is. I mean, I even asked my doctor about it one day. I said to him, I thought, right, let's see what he thinks about this. But I said to him, do you know anything about chakras then? He said, I've heard of them. Now, right, if that's as far as his knowledge goes, I'm not even going to bother telling him. So I didn't bother. So the left side, right side, he didn't get to know about that bit. But at least I know in my own mind that that's what's going. Hardly ever have any problems on the right hand side of the body.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a problem, it'll be on the left hand side.
Yeah, it really is fascinating, isn't it? I suppose it just blows people's mind, just this sheer concept that if you give out too much or don't receive enough, it's going to have an imbalance somewhere within your body. But as we know, everything is energy.
It's like with a stroke. If you have damage to the brain on the right hand side, that affects the body on the left hand side. Vice versa. If damage to the brain in the stroke is on the left hand side, it affects the right hand side of the body.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's obviously a correlation and link there between the two. Yeah. Absolutely.
As well. Now I've noticed lately they're finding a link between something that I've observed throughout loads and loads of Reiki sessions. If I'm picking up a load of heat on people's heads, which is, usually you put that down to stress, you can pretty well guarantee you're going to pick up heat in the solar plexus area. And that's a classic area for stress together. But now the doctors are actually saying that there is an actual link between the brain and the gut.
Yeah. Yeah. It is becoming scientifically known that they call the stomach the second brain. And because we hold a lot of emotion there and a lot of, like you say, stress or whatever, and same in the lower back. And it's all around that solar plexus sacral area, isn't it? Really, it is fascinating, but I mean, it's every day and it's just kind of normal to us, I suppose.
Yeah. And there's more and more people like us. And I think it's inevitable because medication can only do so much. Even when it achieves what it's meant to do, there'll be side effects.
Yeah.
And I'm on some medication for my sleep. I've been on it for a good few years, and I should come off it really. And it does actually help really well with the sleep, but it has a side effect of drying up my mouth and other body fluids as well. And that's why I'm sort of constantly sucking on sweets, on sugar-free sweets, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I've just recently had, Dan got tested positive for COVID, but I've been negative the whole time. But I've had I had a couple of days where I felt a bit out of whack and I had a few body aches and what have you. But ever since then, I've been fine. But what I've noticed with my throat is it's always getting really, really dry. And I've lost my sense of smell. So at the minute I have incense on and I can't smell incense. I can taste it in the air, but I can't smell it. It's really, really weird. But like I say, if I talk for too long, then my throat starts to get, and I start getting quite scratchy with my talking. So I've got a drink as well. So I've finished a cup of tea and now I've got a pint of water to keep to keep me going. So we've touched on the Reiki and the spiritual healing and your guides, and you've brought in your clairaudient ability. So how do you obviously I know, but how do you hear when they're communicating with you? Do you hear them from outside or from inside your head?
From inside. That's known as subjective clairaudience. When you hear the voice from inside the head, if the person in spirit would say sat over there in the corner, and I heard the voice from over there, that's called objective clairaudience. But mine is the subjective one, and it depends whereabouts in my head I hear it. It depends on the gender of the person. If I hear somebody on some words on the right hand side of my head, then it's female, and the chances are it's my mum.
And that's
Usually
the connection, like you were just saying about the left and right. Yeah.
That's it. And if it's on the left side, then I know it's male. And I always ask, but chances are it's my dad. My dad's with me all the time.
Yeah. Do you hear?
So I hear them, but
in
it's
their
soft in the
voices?
background.
Sorry, do
Sorry?
you hear them in their voices, or do you hear it in like your own voice?
3 times, only 3 times I've actually heard the voice. It's very rare that well, for someone like myself anyway, it's very rare to actually hear the actual voice, because it takes the people in spirit a heck of a lot more, whatever, to manifest themselves with their actual voice, whereas it's usually just the words. But the first time I heard a voice was my mum's, and it was after some weeks after the funeral, and I was at the cemetery for scattering her ashes, and I'd taken a bunch of freesias along, which was her favourite flowers, and after we put the ashes on the ground there, I knelt down to put the flowers on the ashes, and as I knelt down, I heard her actual voice saying thank you. So it wasn't just the words thank you; it was her actual voice.
Yeah.
That's only happened with Mum once. What was the other one? Oh yeah, Rita, George's sister. Rita. I mean, she was like I've always thought she's like a second mother to me. 'Cause as you know, my own mum had Alzheimer's for the last 10 years of her life. So as my mum was kind of slipping away, and also at that time my partner was as well, but that was with his heart. His sister Rita, she became a second mother to me. But she thought this idea of life after death was a load of rubbish. She said, "Oh no," she said, "when you die, that's it." She said, "It's it's just a deep sleep." Well, you're in for a shock then, aren't you? So anyway, she did die about 10 years or so ago, and I think it would be about after about 3 years or so. I was just sat next door on the city, and I just heard her voice saying, "Hello, Ken," and it was her voice. It wasn't just the words. It was so that was the second time, and then the third time was just, I think it was just about a year ago, and it was White Cloud's voice. And I
Ah.
just heard the voice, just the once, just
Yeah.
the once.
Yeah. Wow.
Clairvoyant.
It is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. It's amazing to have that connection. Just so fast as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I've actually seen George as well. People have said this was a lot. This is like a lesson in what time is really like for people in spirit. For about 30 odd years or so, various mediums had said to me, "Oh, you've got you can hear people, can't you?" And I say, "Yeah." And they say, "But you can't see them though, can you?" And I said, "No." And they say, "But you will." And I would say, "When?" And they'd always said, "Soon." 30 odd years this went on, and it never happened. But it did. 4 years ago, I was sat having my dinner here one evening. I was just sat watching the television. I sat at the table and I'm watching the television, and I just thought there was a movement in the corner of the room there. And I turned and looked, and there was George stood there in the corner. But he
Mm.
was quite solid down to about the waist, and then he was fading away from the waist. And he was just stood there, and he looked to me like he was when I would say in his early 40s, and naturally dark hair and his glasses. Beautiful look. There's like a look of calm wisdom
Yeah.
about it, and I just looked, and I didn't want to break the spell. I didn't want to sort of say, hello or whatever. I thought he's going to go, and I just kind of just stared, and then he just went. Yeah,
Mm.
but that's the only time so far that
Yeah.
I've had an example of
I know
clairvoyance.
we do see lots of orbs in your house, don't we, as well? Like over like Reiki shares and things like that. There's always orbs flying around. Yeah.
Yeah, and usually it's been one of my great grandfathers, Maxwell Hill.
Mm.
Max, and he's one of my helpers. And he's the orbs. I'd heard about them before, but when they actually started to happen, that was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I know. I can't remember which achievement it was that I did with you, but do you remember when your dog turned up? I can't remember her name. Was it Bess?
Yes, yes. Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I'd said to you the next day that were you aware that there was a dog in here the other day, and you were just like, well, no. And I had to kind of explain, yeah. And then you told me the whole story of Bess. That was such a lovely story as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, Bess died, but I've been here about 3 years then, so I was only 43 when she died, so it's a long time ago.
Mm.
But she's I think she's going to be waiting. It's like Greyfriars Bobby, you know.
Mm.
I mean, when my time comes and I pass into spirit, I know for a fact that she's going to be there.
Be there.
Um, yeah, and yeah, yeah.
I
The
remember
love.
she was ecstatic when we were there, because I remember her being just spinning round and round in circles, and you'd said that she always did that whenever you came round to the house. So it just kind of validated really that she was there, that she was doing that little running round and round in circles thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I always when I go upstairs on the night and I switch the light off in the hallway here before I go upstairs, there's a little there's a picture, a sketch of a black Labrador on the other side of this wall here. And just as I switch that light off, and I always say night night Bess,
Oh,
and every night I say it and then trot upstairs.
isn't that lovely? They're
Yeah.
always there. They're always there. Um, and next thing I've got written down to ask you about is about your different positions that you've had, like for as a research coordinator, and obviously at the minute you're connected to a company called Reiki Home. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're going on with them at the minute? Because I think it's going to be quite groundbreaking with regards to Reiki and the evidence for Reiki.
It is. I mean, basically. I mean, my title. I mean, I don't get paid for this, but my title with Reiki Home is research curator, which I think is a lovely title. I had no idea that I would ever get involved with research. When I go back to when I first started setting up the practice in 2009, like most people with with the new self-employment situation, you have quite a bit of spare time on your hands. So I decided to use mine, quite carefully. On odd occasions, if I'd go away for the day, get on the bus, go up to Durham, I used to do research. I sort of plug my tablets into the bus's Wi-Fi, and I just have a look just to see if is there much of the way in the way of research being done into Reiki. And I was astonished. There's loads of it. So it became a hobby, and I started to gather in quite a collection of this stuff. Then in what year would it be? 2013, I think it was. There was a reshuffle in the way the NHS is organised in England, and what had previously been known as the primary care trusts, which was the governing body of the GPs in individual towns and cities throughout England, they changed by nature, and they became clinical commissioning groups, and they became businesses. So for the first time, GP practices were actually businesses, and they had budgets, and they had to run it as a business. And so I was invited to an inaugural meeting of the CCG in Darlington. So I was sat at the table chatting with some of the people, and I said at one point, I said to this representative, so I said, you're telling me that the CCGs are responsible for the different services that the GPs offer their patients? She said, that's right. So I said, what about complementary therapies? And she smiled and she said, oh yes, we do that. So I said, which ones? And she said, what was it? Acupuncture. And I said, right. And I said, what about, is that it? She said, yes. So I said, why not Reiki? And she said, nobody's asked us. That was it. That was the moment when, unfortunately, it all started for me. I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to write a little report. So I thought, this was about June of that year, and I thought I had a lot of work going on, sort of redevelopment work with my website and stuff, because I'd been working with a marketing consultant at the time and getting to learn about free and and all that kind of stuff like that. So anyway, I thought the report would be about a dozen pages, something like that. So in 2014, the next year when I sat down to do it, I did it, and it came in at 348 pages because there was just so much scientific evidence.
Yeah.
And would you believe it, the clinical commissioning group just totally ignored it? I was invited for a meeting. This was really curious. The man who was the chief officer, I was introduced to him by a mutual friend at another public do that I had a stall at in town. And I'd already submitted my CCG report to him, but this was the first time we'd actually met face to face. And he was fascinated, and he sat down with me, and we chatted away for a good half hour. And I got a phone call from him not long afterwards, or from his secretary, trying to arrange an appointment. So he was supposed to be coming. he was going to come to me, to my premises, and the meeting, I was told, expected to take about an hour. And I thought, well, he's not going to come here and spend an hour telling me to clear off. I thought, well, we're in at last. So this was about 5 weeks hence. Got to the Friday before that meeting, about 6 o'clock in the evening, I got an email from him full of apologies saying, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to make the meeting on Monday, but I will rearrange later. Around about 9 o'clock on the Monday morning, I got a phone call from his secretary saying, really sorry, but Martin won't be able to make the meeting. I said, oh, that's okay. He's already told me. And she said, he's told you? And I said, yes. I said, he emailed me on Friday evening. She said, that's odd, he never does that. I said, well, he did it for me. And that was the last I heard of it. I think I inadvertently got entangled with some kind of internal NHS politics, because he was on long-term sick, in quotes, and disappeared, and the CCG just did not want to know that report. However, I managed to get two people that supported two people for it. One was Jenny Chapman, who was the town's MP at the time. The other was the chair of the UK Reiki Federation, then chair, a lovely lady called Sylvia Clegg. And she rang me up a few days later, and I was absolutely astonished. I mean, that's like a meeting with the gods. You know, I've been a member for years, but the chair, come on. And she was lovely. She was absolutely lovely. And we became really good friends, really, from that time on. She then offered me, she suggested I put myself forward for election to the management committee. You know, how can I be, how can you get something like that? But I thought, no, I'd rather do it when I've got the CCG on board. So I declined her offer. She came back to me a few weeks later and said, right, yeah, I've got research coordinator. That's, that's for you. So I took it. So I took that post. And then gradually, over the next few years, I brought research from being virtually nothing in the Reiki Fed to being one of the top 3 aims. It had its own button on the new website, stuff like that. And I was also seconded to the Reiki Council as well, which was absolutely amazing to be involved with that. And then anyway, after some time, Sylvia had left by this time, and there's another lady who was the chair, and we had a disagreement, and I resigned and decided to give research, put it on the back burner for a while I put together the training side of my practice, which I hadn't been able to do because of all the time I was giving to the Reiki Fed. So I got the training side put together, and then thinking about research, decided that the document I had been working on with the Reiki Fed, I was about to start inputting all the new clinical trials, because I've got over 1,000 email alerts from Google Scholar and an organization in America called the NCBI, which is the National Center for Biotechnology Information. And anytime anyone publishes a paper in the world with the word Reiki on the scientific paper, I get an email alert. So I had all these email alerts, and the Reiki Fed wanted them, and they couldn't have them because it was my own email address. It wasn't the Reiki Fed. I put together a design for a new document, contacted Reiki Home. I knew the lady who's the treasurer of Reiki Home. I'd known her for some years. She'd done her PhD at Durham University, and we got to know each other then. And then there she was back in America, treasurer of Reiki Home, and that was it. I was like, they accepted my proposal, and for the last couple of years, I've just basically been putting this document together, and we're almost finished now. Almost finished. There's literally so much work out there that we're going to be publishing not just 1 volume, but we're going to publish 2 volumes every year ad infinitum. Because as fast as I'm taking this stuff off the internet, there's new stuff coming on like that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be international. That's the thing. The Reiki Fed document was just for UKRF members. This one is going to be international, and there's going to be translations involved as well, subscriptions, stuff like that. I'm now working on the security of the document as a computer file. I've almost finished that. Once I get that finished, we get that going. But it all started back there in this meeting in Darlington with the clinical commissioning group. Amazing journey. Never have thought it.
No. And just think all those years ago when you used to be a technical author, how that's assisted you up to now with everything that you've had to do with compiling information and getting resources and putting all this stuff together. Who would have thought that you learned and what you were doing back then would affect you and influence the work that you're doing now? But it just shows how, like you said at the start, how your life is kind of mapped out for you, it's planned out for you, and you've basically just been spiritually guided all the way through, and how everything has just landed where it needed to at that exact precise time for you.
Yeah.
Really, it really is an absolutely fantastic journey. It's such a wonderful story.
Yeah, I started out my working life in IT, back in 1969, which yeah, they did have electricity in there, and just. And I worked in IT for about 20 years, and all the experience there, I mean, that was long before with the internet, long before Wi-Fi and stuff like that. And all that experience has been of massive help to me now. And then the work that I did afterwards, I was out of work for a few years, and then got into the field of learning disabilities as a support worker, working for MenCap and Darlington Borough Council and Social Services.
Mm,
Absolutely amazing time. I mean, the pay was dreadful, but the work was absolutely amazing.
mm,
Made loads of friends with that. And then looking after my mum with her Alzheimer's, and then my partner George with his heart trouble. That then got me in work with Darlington Association on Disability as a carer support worker, supporting people like myself, looking after a member of the family or a friend with a long-term illness. All that experience just
mm.
came into play there. And then when I started the Reiki, everything was just
Just
there.
came together. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's another wonderful fact of Reiki is, like you say, it changes your life in so many ways. But like, I think a lot of people would expect it to be something else. Not that the fact that it's brought everything in your life into fruition and into being able to use it into building your practice, building your research, doing all your research coordination, all this stuff that's happened throughout life. Reiki has brought it all together to create like a great package.
Yeah. I mean, even in IT, one of the things that I did was I was a technical author, as you say, writing computer manuals. That's great. I mean, all the material I produced, all the leaflets and stuff like that. But also as well, I got a qualification as a training instructor. So I'm a qualified teacher. And I
Yeah,
mean, what else do I do with the Reiki? I teach Reiki.
teach Reiki. Yeah.
Everything in the past is it's like it was all part of the training
Mm.
for for Reiki,
And here,
which is
here you are now, still flourishing, still going strong, just after your 70th birthday, and still loving life.
yeah. I mean, when I think about, when I tell people these days, I had to kind of remind myself about this about 6 months or so ago, and I thought, hang on a sec, you haven't just got one job. I mean, I've got three. I've got my client work, I've got the teaching, and I've got the research as well. You say I'm 70, no sign of retirement.
No chance for slowing down.
So,
Well, I think we've nearly covered an hour of chatting, but it's been lovely to have you with us, Ken, to share your story of Reiki and where you've come from and where you are now and how you're still going strong, and how a lot of people have kind of fallen away over the years, and you've just kept going with the business and being spiritually guided, and I think it's going to be great for people to hear what you've gone through, all your learning, all the initial training that you've had to do early on in life to bring you to the here and now.
and people have said to me as well over the last 7 or 8 years, you should write a book about all this. You could inspire other people. And I
Yeah.
thought, it would bore people. But within about the last 6 months, I think that a little penny did drop into place in my mind. I thought, well, maybe I should. So
Mm.
I've got the first page written. That was about 6 months ago, but it's a start. And there's a title as well.
Yeah, maybe something will have to fall away to give you a chance to do that, but I'm sure you'll be guided to that when the time is right.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks very much, Ian. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming along and having a chat. And I shall let you go. But I will speak to you and see you soon, I'm sure. And I'll be uploading this shortly to YouTube for everybody on the YouTube world to hear and hear your stories. So I will say
Yeah.
I will bid you farewell, and you take care of yourself, Ken.
very much. You too. See you.
Bye.